I, 28F, never thought I'd be in this situation, but here I am. My sister Lizzie, 26F, and I used to be really close growing up. We shared a room in our small suburban home, whispering secrets late into the night and dreaming about our futures. Lizzie was always the more outgoing one, with a flair for art and music, while I was the studious type, nose always buried in a book. Despite our differences, we were inseparable. Our parents, John, 55M, and Mary, 53F, raised us to value family above all else. Dad worked long hours as a construction foreman to provide for us, while Mom juggled part-time jobs and taking care of the household. They instilled in us a strong sense of loyalty and the importance of sticking together through thick and thin. Little did I know how much that family loyalty would be tested in the years to come. I met Jake, 30M, during my sophomore year of college. He was a senior, charismatic and popular, with a passion for literature that matched my own. We bonded over our shared love of classic novels and spent countless hours discussing our favorite authors in cozy coffee shops. Jake was my first serious boyfriend, and I fell hard and fast. After Jake graduated, he decided to stay in town and work at a local publishing house. Our relationship continued to flourish, and soon we were talking about a future together. We moved in together after I graduated, sharing a small but cozy apartment near the city center. Jake was supportive of my career aspirations in marketing, always encouraging me to reach for the stars. Lizzie, meanwhile, had decided to forego college and pursue her passion for art. She worked various jobs to support herself while trying to make a name in the local art scene. I admired her courage and determination, even if our parents were a bit disappointed by her choice not to pursue higher education. Jake and Lizzie hit it off from the start. They shared a love for indie music and abstract art, often engaging in animated discussions about the latest gallery openings or underground bands. I was thrilled that my boyfriend and my sister got along so well, never suspecting that their connection would evolve into something more sinister. 5 years into our relationship, Jake and I were in a good place. We had weathered the storms of early adulthood together, job changes, financial struggles, and the loss of our beloved childhood dog. We had even started casually browsing engagement rings online, dreaming of a future wedding and the family we'd build together. Lizzie's life, on the other hand, was more tumultuous. She bounced from job to job, struggling to make ends meet while pursuing her art. There were periods when she'd crash on our couch, and Jake and I would help her out financially. I never minded. She was my sister, after all, and I wanted to support her dreams. Everything changed on a rainy Tuesday in April. I had a big presentation at work and realized I'd left some crucial files on my home laptop. Knowing Lizzie was staying with us that week, I called and asked if she could email the files to me. She agreed, and I thought nothing more of it. Hours later, after nailing my presentation, I opened my email to find the files from Lizzie. But there was something else, an email thread that Lizzie had accidentally left open when she sent the files. My heart stopped as I read the messages between her and Jake, filled with intimate details and plans for their secret rendezvous. I felt like the ground had disappeared beneath my feet. The two people I trusted most in the world had betrayed me in the worst possible way. I left work early, my mind reeling, and confronted Jake at our apartment. He tried to downplay it at first, claiming it was just a few harmless flirtations. But as I revealed more of what I'd read, his excuses crumbled. Jake finally admitted to a 6-month affair with Lizzie. He claimed it started innocently, late-night talks when I was asleep or working late, a shared appreciation for art that evolved into something more. He swore he never meant to hurt me, that he'd been confused about his feelings. I couldn't bear to hear any more and told him to get out. Confronting Lizzie was even harder. I went to her small studio apartment, my hands shaking as I knocked on the door. When she opened it, her face fell. She knew I'd found out. Unlike Jake, Lizzie didn't try to make excuses. She looked me in the eye and said she'd fallen in love with Jake, that they hadn't planned it but couldn't fight their feelings. The next few months were a blur of pain and anger. I moved out of the apartment I'd shared with Jake, crashing on a friend's couch until I could find a place of my own. I threw myself into work, taking on extra projects to keep my mind occupied. I cut off all contact with both Jake and Lizzie, blocking their numbers and social media accounts. My parents were devastated by the news. They tried to mediate at first, encouraging me to hear Lizzie out and consider forgiveness. But I couldn't bear the thought of being in the same room as her. The betrayal was too fresh, too deep. Eventually, they stopped pushing, but I could see the sadness in their eyes whenever the subject came up. It took nearly a year of therapy and self-reflection before I felt ready to date again. That's when I met Alex, 32M, at a charity auction for the local animal shelter. He was tall, with kind eyes and a gentle smile that put me at ease immediately. We bonded over our shared love of dogs and our experiences volunteering at the shelter. Alex was patient and understanding as I opened up about my past. He never pushed me to move faster than I was comfortable with, always respecting my boundaries. Slowly but surely, I found myself falling in love again, this time with a man who truly valued and respected me. 2 years into our relationship, Alex proposed during a sunrise hike to our favorite lookout point. It was simple, intimate, and perfect. As we began planning our wedding, I felt a mix of excitement and anxiety. The thought of walking down the aisle again brought up memories I'd rather forget. Everything was going smoothly until my parents brought up inviting Lizzie to the wedding. They argued that she's still family and should be there on my big day. The mere suggestion made my stomach churn. How could I celebrate the happiest day of my life with a person who had caused me so much pain? I firmly refused, telling my parents that Lizzie's presence would only bring back painful memories and potentially ruin the day. Alex backed me up, saying our wedding should be about our love and happiness, not trying to mend fences that might be beyond repair. My parents didn't take it well. They accused me of being petty and unable to move on. They even threatened not to attend if Lizzie wasn't invited. Some of our relatives have also gotten involved, calling me selfish for dividing the family and urging me to be the bigger person. But I don't think I'm in the wrong here. Lizzie betrayed me in the worst possible way, sleeping with the man I thought I'd spend my life with. I've worked hard to move past that pain and build a new life with Alex. I don't want anything to jeopardize the happiness and peace I've found. So, Reddit, Ida for not inviting my sister to my wedding? Am I being petty, or do I have the right to exclude someone who hurt me so deeply from one of the most important days of my life? Update 1. I want to thank everyone for their supportive comments and advice on my original post. The response was overwhelming, and it gave me the courage to have a difficult but necessary conversation with my parents. I invited them over for dinner last week, determined to clear the air and set some boundaries. The evening started off tense. Mom kept trying to steer the conversation towards wedding plans, while Dad remained uncharacteristically quiet. After we finished eating, I took a deep breath and dove in. I explained in detail how Lizzie's actions had affected me, the sleepless nights, the trust issues that nearly sabotaged my relationship with Alex, and the therapy sessions I needed to work through my pain. I told them about the panic attacks I used to have whenever I saw a couple that reminded me of Jake and Lizzie, how I'd lost weight because food lost its taste, how I'd thrown myself into work to avoid dealing with my emotions. I shared how Alex had been patient with me, holding me through nightmares and reassuring me when my insecurities threatened to overwhelm me. To my surprise, Mom broke down in tears halfway through my explanation. Between sobs, she admitted that they had been pushing for Lizzie's inclusion because they felt guilty. It turns out Lizzie's life had taken a downward spiral since the incident. According to my parents, Lizzie had lost her job at the gallery where she'd been working. Her drinking, which had always been social before, had escalated to the point where she was rarely sober. She'd had a string of short-lived, toxic relationships, including a particularly bad one that ended with her in the hospital with a broken arm. Mom and Dad felt responsible for not noticing the signs of Lizzie's issues earlier. They blamed themselves for praising her free spirit without recognizing that she might have needed more guidance and support. In their minds, inviting Lizzie to the wedding was a way to bring her back into the fold and hopefully help her get her life back on track. While I sympathized with Lizzie's struggles, I made it clear that it doesn't excuse her actions or erase the pain she caused me. I reminded them of all the times they had helped Lizzie financially and emotionally over the years, pointing out that they had always been supportive parents. I emphasized that I'm not responsible for Lizzie's well-being, and I shouldn't have to sacrifice my peace of mind for her. Dad, who had been quiet for most of the conversation, finally spoke up. He shared a story from his own past that I'd never heard before. Apparently, his older brother had done something similar, betraying Dad's trust in a significant way when they were young. They had never fully reconciled, and I could see the regret in Dad's eyes as he talked about the decades of strained family gatherings and missed opportunities. He said he didn't want the same for Lizzie and me, which is why he had been pushing for reconciliation. But he also acknowledged that he couldn't force forgiveness, and that healing had to happen on my terms. Dad apologized for pressuring me and promised that he and Mom would respect my decision about the wedding. He also assured me they would attend, with or without Lizzie. As for the relatives who had been giving me a hard time, my parents agreed to talk to them and explain the situation. They promised to shut down any further attempts to guilt-trip me into inviting Lizzie. After this emotional conversation, I felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. There were still unresolved feelings, but I felt heard and understood by my parents for the first time since this whole ordeal began. Alex, who had made himself scarce during the dinner to give us privacy, was incredibly supportive when I filled him in later that night. He held me as I cried, a mix of relief and lingering sadness washing over me. He suggested we take a weekend trip to de-stress and refocus on our wedding plans. We spent a lovely weekend at a nearby beach town, just enjoying each other's company and finalizing some wedding details. We chose our wedding cake, chocolate with raspberry filling, decided on the playlist for the reception, and even practiced our first dance on the beach under the stars. This experience has made me appreciate Alex even more. He's been my rock through all of this, always putting my feelings first and supporting me unconditionally. I'm more certain than ever that I'm marrying the right person. The wedding is now just 2 months away, and I'm excited to celebrate our love surrounded by people who truly support us. There's still a part of me that feels sad about Lizzie's absence, but I know this is the right decision for my mental health and happiness. Thank you again, Reddit, for helping me stand my ground and prioritize my well-being. Your support has meant more than you know. Update 2. It's been a whirlwind few weeks since my last update, and I have some surprising news to share. About 3 weeks ago, I received a letter from Lizzie. The envelope sat on our kitchen counter for days as I debated whether to open it or toss it in the trash. Alex, ever the voice of reason, suggested that reading it might provide some closure, even if I decided not to respond. Finally, on a quiet Sunday morning, I gathered my courage and opened the letter. It was several pages long, filled with Lizzie's familiar loopy handwriting. As I read, I could almost hear her voice in my head, bringing back memories of late-night conversations and shared secrets from our childhood. Lizzie started by acknowledging the pain she'd caused me, taking full responsibility for her actions without making excuses. She wrote about the spiral her life had taken after Jake left her, how she turned to alcohol to numb the guilt and shame. She admitted to struggling with depression, which had started long before the incident with Jake but had worsened significantly afterward. What surprised me most was her revelation about going to rehab. Apparently, she'd been in a treatment facility for the past 6 months, working on her sobriety and mental health. She wrote about the intensive therapy sessions, the group meetings, and the hard work of confronting her demons. Lizzie explained that part of her recovery process involved making amends to those she'd hurt. She emphasized that she didn't expect forgiveness and respected my decision not to have her at the wedding. Her goal in writing was simply to apologize and let me know she was working on becoming a better person. The letter ended with a memory from our childhood, a time when I'd stood up for her against some bullies at school. Lizzie wrote that she'd always admired my strength and integrity, and that betraying me was the biggest regret of her life. I'd like to say I immediately felt a surge of forgiveness after reading the letter, but the truth is, it left me conflicted. Part of me was still angry and hurt, while another part felt a glimmer of the sisterly love we once shared. I decided to take some time to process my feelings before making any decisions. After a few days of reflection and many discussions with Alex, I agreed to meet Lizzie at a neutral location, a quiet cafe in town. Seeing her in person after 3 years was surreal. She looked different, thinner, with dark circles under her eyes, but there was a calmness about her that wasn't there before. Our conversation was awkward at first, filled with long pauses and hesitant words. But as we talked, it became easier. Lizzie reiterated everything she'd said in the letter, her voice cracking with emotion as she apologized again for the pain she'd caused. She told me more about her journey to sobriety and the work she'd been doing in therapy. Lizzie even showed me a journal where she'd been writing letters to me as part of her recovery process, though she never intended to send them. Reading snippets of her raw, unfiltered thoughts from those dark days was eye-opening. I won't lie, it was an emotional meeting. We both shed tears as we talked about the past and the pain we'd both experienced. Lizzie shared that she and Jake had broken up just months after I'd caught them, their relationship crumbling under the weight of guilt and recrimination. She hadn't spoken to him since. By the end of our meeting, I felt a sense of closure I didn't know I needed. The anger that had been simmering inside me for years began to cool, replaced by a complicated mix of sadness, relief, and cautious hope. After much thought and many discussions with Alex, I've decided not to invite Lizzie to the wedding. It's too soon, and I want to focus on my special day without any added stress or emotional complications. However, I've agreed to try and rebuild our relationship slowly, starting with occasional text messages and maybe coffee meetups in the future. Lizzie understood and respected my decision. She even sent Alex and me a small gift, a beautiful hand-painted card wishing us happiness in our marriage. It was reminiscent of the cards she used to make for my birthdays when we were kids, bringing back bittersweet memories. I know this journey of healing and rebuilding trust will be long and possibly difficult. There are still moments when the pain of betrayal flares up, reminding me of all we've lost. But for the first time in 3 years, I feel hopeful about having my sister back in my life someday. As for the wedding, preparations are in full swing. Alex and I are excited to celebrate our love surrounded by our closest friends and family. While Lizzie won't be there, I feel more at peace with that decision now. Our special day will be about looking forward to our future together, Not dwelling on past hurts. Update 3. It's been 6 months since my wedding, and I wanted to give you all a final update on this chapter of my life. The wedding day itself was absolutely perfect. Alex and I exchanged vows surrounded by our loved ones in the beautiful vineyard setting we had chosen. The weather was ideal, with a gentle breeze and clear blue skies that seemed to mirror the joy I felt in my heart. I walked down the aisle on my father's arm, my eyes locked with Alex's. In that moment, all the drama and pain of the past few years faded away. I felt nothing but love and gratitude as I joined my soon-to-be husband at the altar. The ceremony was intimate and personal, with readings chosen by our closest friends and vows we had written ourselves. There wasn't a dry eye in the house when Alex promised to always be my safe harbor, and I vowed to be his steadfast companion through all of life's adventures. The reception was a joyous celebration. The food was delicious, the wine flowed freely, and the dance floor was packed all night. My parents were on their best behavior, focusing on celebrating Alex and me without any mention of Lizzie. It was wonderful to see them so happy and supportive. As for Lizzie, she respected my wishes and didn't try to contact me on the wedding day. Instead, she sent a lovely bouquet of sunflowers, my favorite flowers since childhood, to my hotel room. The accompanying note congratulated us and wished us a lifetime of happiness. It was a thoughtful gesture that I appreciated more than I expected to. Since the wedding, Alex and I have settled into married life, and it's been wonderful. We recently bought our first home together, a cozy craftsman-style house with a small backyard. We've been enjoying the process of making it our own, painting walls and planting a garden. It feels good to be building a life together, creating new memories in a space that's truly ours. My relationship with Lizzie is slowly improving. We've had a few more meetings over coffee, and we text regularly now. Our conversations are still a bit guarded, but there's a growing ease between us that reminds me of our old relationship. Last month, we even had dinner together with our parents. It was a bit tense at first, with everyone carefully avoiding certain topics, but as the evening progressed, it started to feel more like old times. Lizzie is still committed to her sobriety and has been making positive changes in her life. She's back in school, studying to become a counselor for troubled teens. She says her own experiences have given her insight into the struggles young people face, and she wants to help others avoid the mistakes she made. Seeing her growth and dedication to turning her life around has helped me in my process of forgiveness. Recently, Lizzie asked if she could show some of her artwork at a local gallery. I hesitated at first, memories of her past artistic endeavors bringing up mixed emotions. But I decided to go, with Alex by my side for support. Walking into the gallery, I was stunned by the transformation in her work. Gone were the chaotic, dark pieces of her troubled years, replaced by vibrant, hopeful canvases that seemed to pulse with life. One painting, in particular, caught my eye: 2 intertwined trees, their branches reaching towards the sky. Lizzie later told me it represented her hope for our relationship, growing together again after being apart. While we're not back to being best friends, and I don't think we ever will be, I'm glad we're working on rebuilding our relationship. It's a slow process, with occasional setbacks when old hurts resurface, but it feels right. We're learning to be sisters again, in a new way that respects our individual journeys and the people we've become. I want to thank everyone who supported me through this difficult time. Your advice and encouragement helped me stay strong and make decisions that were best for me. I've learned a lot about setting boundaries, the importance of self-care, and the power of forgiveness, not for the other person, but for my own peace of mind. Looking back, I realize that the journey of healing isn't linear. There are good days and bad days, moments of progress and moments of doubt. But I'm proud of how far I've come, and I'm excited for the future ahead with Alex. To anyone going through a similar situation, remember that it's okay to prioritize your own well-being. Healing takes time, and you don't owe anyone your forgiveness until you're ready to give it. Trust your instincts, surround yourself with supportive people, and don't be afraid to seek professional help if you need it. As for me, I'm looking forward to the next chapter of my life with Alex. We're talking about starting a family soon, and the thought of becoming parents both thrills and terrifies us. Whatever challenges come our way, I know we'll face them together, stronger for having weathered this storm.